really understanding the language that we're using with ourselves and the stories that we're telling ourselves is important because we really need to look at the truth. In reality, are you great with people? Do you meet people that love to stay in touch with you and love to support you and love to stay engaged? I really invite you to take a look at the truth of your networking history. Is it as challenging as you've told yourself? Hello, this is TOSCA DiMatteo, your host of the Unlock Lab, and I'm so excited that you're here for this special episode. It's called TOSCA All Access, and these are episodes in which I will answer questions that are submitted to support you in finding an unlock in whatever scenario or situation you're experiencing. So, this question was submitted from Miami. Here's the question. I want to start networking more with other leaders in my industry, but I find the thought of walking up to strangers and introducing myself totally paralyzing. How can I go about making introductions for myself that won't make me look incredibly awkward? First of all, thank you for submitting this question. I don't think you're alone in this, and I'm really excited to dive into this topic of networking and how do we find some more comfort in it, some more joy in the process. First, I want to start off with the fact that the word that you used in this is paralyzing. And that's a really strong word. And it makes me think about being in flight or fight when it comes to meeting new people. So I'm wondering what your history is with meeting strangers, because you also use the word strangers, right? Were there ever times where your love and acceptance was based on your success, quote unquote, in meeting strangers? Because my sense is there might be something from the past to really look at that would be really helpful in understanding why these strong feelings are coming up. The other part of that line of questioning would be, did you ever have a rejection that was really, really hard that you thinking of right now, even in this conversation? That might be something that happened a really long time ago. Maybe you think it's silly that you're even thinking of it right now, but those types of things that have kind of gone unprocessed or unresolved can stick with us and cause us to have these kind of strong feelings in these situations. So I guess, my first counsel is to really take a step back and say, hey, like, what is my history with meeting strangers? And is there something that I need to go deeper with in terms of exploration? The other piece that I just want to pull out here is that in the question, you mentioned wanting to introduce yourself in a way that won't make you look incredibly awkward. I'm sensing there's an inner critic in here or some judgment or maybe a little bit of both, right? What if there was no judgment attached to what awkward is? What if awkward was amazing? What if awkward was authentic? What if awkward was neutral? The other piece is your inner critic telling you the truth about how you're actually showing up and how people perceive you? Have you ever been told that people thought you were awkward when they first met you? I'm going to take a leap and I'm going to guess that you haven't really gotten that kind of feedback, but it's something that you're telling yourself. So, really understanding the language that we're using with ourselves and the stories that we're telling ourselves is important because we really need to look at the truth. In reality, are you great with people? Do you meet people that love to stay in touch with you and love to support you and love to stay engaged? I really invite you to take a look at the truth of your networking history. Is it as challenging as you've told yourself? This makes me think of my own experience with networking, right? Like sometimes I can show up in rooms and other people talk about how they do work with inner critics. And I can tell myself the story about how, like, oh my gosh, I'm not the least bit differentiated. And I'm not the least bit interesting because everybody does this work. And it's total baloney and it's a lie. So I just want to say, right, like it's normal to have these kinds of narratives in our head, especially being in situations where maybe we're not made to feel like we belong, especially right in these corporate settings. And so it's normal and natural, and we have to question what is actually true. All right. So that's kind of the deeper layer that I'm sensing here. But I next want to go into what are some tips around networking to help you find some joy in the process, some levity, and hopefully some great results for yourself. First and foremost, as with most things, I want you to consider what's your intent. What's your measure of success for whatever room you're walking into to meet some new folks? And part of that is also assessing how do you want to feel when the event is over? So, for example, do you want to feel brave? Do you want to feel content? Do you want to feel accomplished? And in terms of intent, this is interesting, right? Because if networking is really hard and we set this goal or this intent of, I'm going to meet 15 people, but we know that we get really, really drained when all we're doing is staying at the surface level and hopping from person to person, that's not setting us up for success. So maybe you set an intent that might sound something like, I want to speak to people I really vibe with. And that means you're taking the pressure off of expectation. You're taking the pressure off of strategically who should I talk to. And you're just honoring, I want to have some healthy, inspiring conversations with people that make me feel good. And that might really help you to move on when you're meeting folks that don't make you feel that way or that invite you to have some deeper interactions with folks rather than stay at that surface level of like, hey, the weather out there is like crazy, right? Okay. The other thing around networking is to really understand for yourself what actually feels good to you about networking? What do you enjoy about meeting new people? And maybe even removing the word networking from your vocabulary will be helpful because this can be a triggering word for some people. So maybe for you, you want to reframe that in your mind to say, I love meeting new people actually, or I love building my business network. So if you need to just throw out that word networking so that it doesn't trigger you, then go ahead and do that and rewrite that script for yourself. I think that humans in general, right? Like connection is so important. And whether you're introverted or extroverted, there's usually something about meeting people that you do enjoy. And so I want you to investigate like what part of the process do I enjoy? Do I enjoy getting curious about people and their personal lives? Do I love talking about anything but business when I'm first meeting people? Go into that. Go into like what part of this do you actually enjoy? Do you enjoy like the second conversation because the first conversation feels a little funky, but you actually love following up with like coffees one on one versus staying in these bigger rooms with more people to meet? So do that investigation. And then, as much as you can, right, amplify what you do enjoy and find places where and spaces where you can actually bring that to life in a bigger way. This podcast, The Unlock Lab, is sponsored by TOSCA Coaching and Consulting. If you're looking for transformation personally, professionally, or within your organization, you have come to the right place. I support people first cultures, career breakthroughs, and brand alignment. To learn more, visit CoachTosca.com. A big piece of stepping into any room that feels intimidating is to really get out of your head and go into your heart space. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is like just connect with yourself. Just connect with like who you are, your joy, your heart, what you bring to the world without all this mind chatter of expectations and the inner critic coming in. And sometimes doing this can look like taking a deep breath before you walk into the room. It's centering yourself, grounding yourself, reminding yourself of your intent. And this can also help with the nervous system, taking some deep breaths to just reset yourself. I think sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves when we have this like goal of networking, and that doesn't help anything. So the more that you can take the pressure, the burden off, and realize actually whatever this event will be, and that's what it's meant to be. And then just go in there, with the only job being that you are there to be yourself. Because I really believe that in meeting new people, that's all your job is to be your authentic self. And if that's awkward, amazing. If that's boisterous, awesome. If that's shy, perfect. But your only job is to show up as you are, who you are, and you will attract those that vibe with you. And that is the most beautiful piece. I know that sometimes they'll look at, oh, who's going to be in that room, and they have this whole strategy around who they want to meet. And that works for some people. And I'm not going to knock that kind of strategy. But for a lot of people, what works is if they feel like they can be in alignment with themselves when they're meeting people. And that's what I'm encouraging you to do, to just be in full alignment with who you are. And sometimes part of that process can be choosing how you show up, like what you're wearing that makes you feel good, and investing in that and honoring, like for you, if that's something that helps you feel good on the inside, do it. And I say that because that's how I am. I actually feel really good when I'm presenting on the outside how I want to feel. It helps me to feel that way on the inside. Ideally, I'm feeling that way on the inside and it's represented on the outside, but sometimes I start from the outside in. That's just part of what I've learned about what's important to me. Another thing that you can do in terms of how you orient yourself in these kinds of situations is to take the focus off of yourself and to actually just get curious about other people. Because when we're so focused on us and how we're being perceived and what we're saying and are we doing the right things or saying the right things, then what we're doing is we're actually placing the focus in the wrong area. Because building relationships is all about being of service to who's in the room and what you want to learn about them. And so if you can put this orientation towards, gosh, I wonder who this person really is, it takes the focus off of you. And I think that can be really helpful. Sometimes, too, getting into these networking spaces is about honoring like when you feel like that event ran its course for you. You might be having an amazing time and you stay even past the time where people are gathering. And sometimes you may realize you showed up, you met a few people, and you just feel like, okay, you're kind of getting drained now and you want to just cut it there. That can be a great way to kind of support yourself in not draining yourself all the way to empty, especially for the introverts listening. I know that it can be really draining to meet new people. So, like, if you go and the event is an hour and you realize like at 40 minutes, you're just kind of like, you've kind of gotten what you came for, then like, yeah, peace out. Peace out. You don't have to stay and force. I think that's a big thing, right? Like the more that we're enforcing energy in anything that we do, right, the harder it is to feel good about it and be in alignment. And that kind of brings me to, right, rewarding yourself. Like at the end of a networking, like reward yourself, help that nervous system calm down and say, you know what? I did it. Yeah, maybe I did feel awkward, but I also reminded myself that awkward is not bad. And so that reward can look like many different things. Maybe you're watching 30 minutes of your favorite Netflix show. Maybe you're picking up a book. Maybe you're pouring yourself a glass of champagne, whatever it is for you to say, to remind your body and your system, like, I'm safe here and like, I'm good. And I actually got out of my comfort zone. That's just a great practice that I would highly recommend. The big thing I want to leave with you around networking is this: your only job is to be yourself, period. And you are an equal to everyone in the rooms that you walk into. I don't care about title. I don't care about status. I don't care about where you live. I don't care about the car you have. When you can walk into a room and know in your heart of hearts, we are all the same, we are all people, nobody is better than, nobody is less than me. I think that will help you in showing up in your most authentic, beautiful way without putting the pressure on yourself that you're supposed to be anything other than who you are in that very moment. So, thank you again for this question submission. It was a beautiful opportunity to talk about networking. And it's a great time of year to talk about networking because we're early on and we're going after our goals. And I hope that this supports you in being more comfortable in your own skin and putting yourself out there because the world needs your light to shine. And by moving through these uncomfortable feelings, by going deep and understanding what is this fear, what is underneath the feeling of meeting new people, you will come out the other side with a brighter light and with opportunities, I think, in front of you that you couldn't imagine. Because when you want to go all in your life, going all in means putting yourself in situations that will serve you that might also be uncomfortable. So get out there, my friends. Get out there. Let the world see you. Shine your light. Be awkward. Be brave. Be beautiful. Be feisty. Be outrageous. Whatever it is, just be you. I hope this was helpful, and I look forward to more questions for my TOSCA All Access podcast episodes. You can email me at breakthrough@toscadimatteo.com, or you can look in the show notes and find the link where you can submit anonymously. I look forward to the next All Access segment. And in the meantime, I hope you have an awesome week, and I look forward to seeing you in the lab. Ciao for now.